Well, did you guys take this little Prince and Pauper test thing? Did you like it? Yes. Did you like it? I cannot tell a lie. So we're going to go over this test today. Is that all right? The crowd's, I'm losing the crowd. How many took a test? Did you like it? We're going to go over the test today. Oh, how painful. So let's pray. We should pray. Let's come to that. Holy Spirit, thank you for trees. Those are real trees. Did you see that? Thank you so much. Yes. May you find a beautiful woman. Maybe you're married already. I don't even know who's working for us anymore. If you're married, you've already fulfilled as a word of knowledge. Anyway, we're praying. Holy Spirit, we just pray. You would help us think like princes and princesses. Princes for males and princesses for females. Amen. So you took this test, and I assume that you read the directions because you are Christians. And you're used to reading a manual, so reading directions would come very natural to you, I suppose. At least to the girls. Guys, we don't read directions. We just do it, and then when it comes out wrong, we're like, should have been married. I'm just telling you what my struggle is. Anyway, so I want to just go through part one, and we'll just go question by question and talk about why you are very princely and not pauperish. And so you rated this, you read the directions, so you went by number one, and you put how you most often think, right? So not on your best day, not on your worst day, but how you most often think. Is that how you did this test? Good. That's good. Because I'm going to give it to you at the end of the year, and you're going to see if you become more prince-ish, royal, more nobly minded. How's that? There we go. So, number one. I tend to have sarcastic sense of humor. Gosh, let's go to number two. Hey, Leslie, you were just up here talking about your sarcastic sense of humor. Okay, I tend to have a sarcastic sense of humor that cuts people down. Why do I do that? Because I call it push-ups. It's like I push you down, I feel better about myself. That's how paupers think. Like, I don't feel good about me, so misery loves company. So I find something about you, and I say it in a joking form, but sometimes, how many understand that humor shouldn't cost people? Okay, Chris, let's move on. Humor shouldn't cost people. Number two, I only like to buy things on sale or at a discount department stores. I understand that, like my wife thinks that she scored. It's like shooting a deer. Like you can't say, when she comes home and you go, oh, that's a beautiful shirt. She got to tell you how much she paid for it. Yeah, well, let me tell you, it was half off and then I had a coupon. I walked out of the store, they paid me to take this thing. So I understand that, but the mindset on this test is that I don't feel like I deserve anything nice. So that's the right answer, ladies and men, gentlemen. Awesome. So, if that's the only one you got wrong, then hey, you're still a princess or a prince. Because my wife tells me that it's a princess's job to find discounts. But if you can't wear expensive stuff because you don't feel like you deserve it, that's still a problem. Okay? That's why I wear all this expensive stuff. Number 3, I struggle with feelings of inadequacy. Obviously, if I struggle with feelings of inadequacy all the time, that means that I struggle with my self-esteem, feeling low about yourself, feeling bad about yourself. You understand by now that that's not called humility, right? That's called you don't know who you are in God. Because if you know who you are and whose you are, you're not going to struggle with inadequacy. How many know Jesus said, "Greater works shall you do when I go to be with the Father"? If you're struggling with inadequacy, you believe in a lie. Just say this right now. If I struggle with inadequacy, I have believed a lie. Because I am a powerful person in Jesus. And I'm in Jesus. Therefore, I'm a powerful person. Amen. Okay. Thank you. Number 4, I find myself secretly competing with people around me. Why do I do that? Because I don't know who I am. So, I tell you, I really struggled with this for many years. I come into a room and size up especially the other men in the room. Like, okay, well, who's smarter, who's better? And it's like, and that happens, that's a pauper mentality. That happens when you don't know who you are. When you know who you are, first of all, there is no other you. So how can you compete with someone when you're the best you could possibly be? Like, who are you competing with? You can't compete with another Kris because you couldn't be me. I'm the most amazing Kris there has ever been born. And you're the most amazing whoever you are. If you're an original. But if you're an imitation of the original, then guess what? Then you're going to feel like you need to compete because everybody competes to see who's as close as they can be to the original. But if you are an original, in other words, you're being who you're supposed to be, then who am I competing with? Because no one can be as good at being me as I am. And no one can be as good at being you as you can. Am I making sense? I know I'm joking a lot with you, but it's true. Like, if I am authentically me, who God made me to be, you can never be as good as I am at being me. And I can never be as good as you are at being you, so who am I competing with? If I'm competing with anyone, I'm competing with myself in the sense that I want to be better today than I was yesterday, glory to glory, if you will, faith to faith. So if I'm going to compete with anybody, it's going to be me. I'm going to compete with myself, getting better, challenging myself to be more Christ-like. I think that's fine, as long as it doesn't get weird, but I think that's fine. I love what, it's the famous coach from UCLA, John Wooden. Is that right? Wrong team? Yeah. He said they would lose, and often when they would lose, he was he's the winningest coach in college basketball history. And they would say to him, you guys lost today. And he said, no, we didn't lose, because you can't lose when you've done your best and you just didn't score enough. So listen, if I've done my best, how can I be a loser? If you did your best and I did my best and you happened to outscore me. Listen, so he said, we have often been outscored, but we've seldom lost. Because if I've done my best and that wasn't good enough to outscore you, then how did I lose? I was the best me I could be. We were the best team we could be tonight, but the other team outscored us. Did we lose? No, because we did the best we could do. My job is to be the best me I can be. If you're better at something than me, and I've done the best me I can do, are you following me? Then what do I have to be ashamed of? That's a good question, Kris. Let's keep going. I look in the mirror often. Well, hey, don't confess sins right now, all right? We're going through the test. We don't want no crying, no deliverances right now. Looking in the mirror often. Why do I do that? Because you've forgotten who you are. Like you're getting your self-esteem externally instead of internally. So I look in the mirror constantly because I've forgotten who I am. Well, it's getting so deep. I can't wait till we get to the fun part. I often compare myself to others. I think we've done a good job covering that already. When I compare myself to others because I don't feel good about myself. Number 7, I usually want the underdog to win. Now, I understand in our society that there's some positive things to that, but I wrote the test in the spirit of feeling like a pauper. And when I want the underdog to win, and I can't root for a winner, it can be related to the fact that I feel like a loser, I feel like an underdog, so I root for losers to win because I feel like a loser. So I can't root for people, I can't root for the team that is supposed to win. I can't root for people who have everything going for them. I can't root for the person who should win because I relate only to losers because I feel like I'm a loser. So there's nothing wrong with, the shopping thing we talked about earlier. As long as that's isolated to that, there's nothing wrong with, your team happens to be the underdog or whatever. But when you put all these things together, you understand that this test is about not one line. It's about putting all these things together and you're like, listen, this paints a picture of me. Yeah, I'm competing with people all the time. I'm looking in the mirror 100 times a day. It feels like I need to belittle people. Yeah, I don't feel valuable. I don't feel like I should have expensive clothes because it feels like the clothes are worth more than I am. And yeah, I root for underdogs because I see myself in the underdog. It's like I can't identify with winners because I feel like a loser. Do you understand? It's not one answer that creates your identity. The questions are posed to give you a picture. Like if you're thinking like this, and the test isn't given so that it'll condemn you. The test is given so you're like, oh my goodness, that's me. And how many know that adversity introduces a man to himself? So you take this test and you're like, oh, that's me. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to answer the question honestly because I'm getting this all wrong. And so, but whether it doesn't matter. I mean, you're the only one who's going to see this test. So the point is that you look line after line and you're like, hey, I disagree with the way that question is written. That's fine. You can't disagree with the way the whole test is written. If you do, it's because you're excusing the fact that you're not thinking nobly. You're not thinking like a princess or a prince. Are you with me? Okay. Number 8, I perceive that God favors the underdog. Same thing. It's like, you know what? God favors people who are poor. God favors, and I would challenge you, isn't it true that God gave, in the parable, the talents, that God gave one guy 1 talent, one guy 3, and one guy 5? And it says he gave the talents according to their ability. And then who did he actually favor in the story? Because you've all read it, right? Because you've read the Bible. So the guy that got 5 talents got what? 5 more. The guy that got 3 more. What happened to the underdog? We won't talk about what happened to him, but what happened to his talent? It got given to the guy who was the most faithful. Are you with me? So yes, the Lord loves the poor, but the Lord also honors people who are faithful. That's such a good word. I'm right about that. Number 9, I'm uncomfortable around rich or successful people. There again, it's, I'm uncomfortable around rich or successful people because when people are successful, they make me feel small. Because I don't feel successful. So I want to be around losers because I have comparative righteousness. It's like I'm better than you, so therefore I'm okay. It's actually the reason why, in my opinion, we like newspapers and bad news. Because when I feel bad about myself every day, 1,200 words a minute, negative self-talk happening, you're no good, you're nothing, you're nobody. And then I read about the murderer or the rapist or whatever, I'm going, well, I'm better than him. I must be okay because at least I'm not doing that stuff. It's like, no, your standard is Christ. The goal is to be like Christ. It's not to not be like the murderer. It's great revelation, Kris. Thank you for that insight. Number 10, I tend to build cases against people who seem successful or have power over me. I build cases against them. And when I'm talking about your inner world, it's like anyone who seems successful, I'm like, oh, you know what? I just don't like rich people. They all rip people off. And, Donald Trump is a loser. And I just, I don't even know Donald Trump, but he must be a loser because he has money. Yeah, some of you are nervously laughing because it's the way you think when you're a pauper. If someone is successful, and I can tell you, I go into countries where the whole culture is like this. I'm working in a previous communist country right now, and the whole culture is related to, you know what? I have a case against anyone who succeeds. And it builds a culture where we actually feel, it's called the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. Sorry if you're from Australia. But they're the ones who taught me this. They said, this is our culture. When someone succeeds, we feel like it's our job to reduce them. Why do we do that? Because we don't feel comfortable around successful people. And when somebody succeeds, it makes me feel like a loser. So, it's David and Goliath. What did his brothers do? And David's like, he's successful. He's like, I think we can beat this guy. His brothers are like, hey, you're go back to your little sheep. Go back to, what are his brothers doing? They're building a case against somebody who looks like they could succeed. So, people that are paupers have two modes with other people. Yeah, you're a loser, or yeah, you succeeded, but you stole. There's something wrong with you. You're wealthy because you stepped on people to get there, and it's like there's nothing in a pauper that allows people to succeed and celebrate them. So quiet here. Number 11. I tell others about important people that I am friends with or important projects I have worked on. Well, there's no problem telling other people about that, but when I'm doing it to bolster my self-esteem, like let me tell you 10 people who I know. I'm getting my importance externally again. I'm getting it from people I know instead of who I know. Instead of God, I'm getting it from people, and I'm getting it externally. So, I have a friend of mine who's a very, very famous person, and you would definitely know who this person is. I totally love him, but no, it's not Bill. It's nobody on our team. Pastor Bill is amazing. I'll finish the story, and I'll tell you something about this test in just a minute. But this man's an international speaker, and every time I see him, nearly every time I see him, we spend the first 10 minutes with him telling me who he knows and where he's just been and who he got to talk to. And I'm like, I don't have any idea why you feel insecure around me because you've done more with your life than maybe I'll ever accomplish in my life. So it's not real, but he gets around me and he feels like he has to tell me, well, I was just with Joe Famous and I'm going to Joe more Famous. And I just finished this book, and I just was on this TV station. I'm like, I don't know what that has to do with the conversation we're having, but whatever it is. And this is a pattern. Like every time I'm with this person, we begin the conversation with his exploits and the people he knows. And then it's not evil. It's just like, wow, you're struggling, feeling small, and I don't know why that's happening around me. Maybe I'm doing something to perpetuate that, but that's not necessary. You don't need to behave like that because the truth is you are amazing. And in my opinion, the people you just named, you're more amazing than those people. So I don't know why you don't know that, but I'd like to just mirror back to you, like you don't need all of those people's qualifications because you're pretty amazing yourself. So again, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, Heidi Baker's my friend, or whatever. It's just when you have to do it to feel important. That's what the test's about. I should tell you this, that when I wrote this test, it's kind of funny because I thought, okay, I started out with the prince side. How does a prince think? And I was thinking, and I'm like, okay, a prince thinks like Bill. This is a true story. I wrote out every prince question thinking, how would Bill answer this in the positive? Because this test used to be true and false. It didn't have 1 through 5 till the students complained for the first 4 years. So it was true and false. So I wrote the whole prince side like Bill thinks. Then I wrote the whole Pauper side like how I used to think. So I went in, when I finished the test, I've edited it since then, but I finished the test in one night, and I took it to Bill, and I said, hey, would you take this test for me? He's kind of like, I said, well, I'll just give it to you verbally, and just tell me what you think. And remember, it was true and false. So I'm like, what? So I went down, and I thought, if Bill gets any of the questions wrong, then I will change the question. Because he was my princely example. This is the only prince, especially then, that I knew. So I'm like, okay. And so when he got all done, he got every single answer right. Remember, it was true and false then. Every single one. I'm like, and of course he didn't know it. I'm like, oh, you got every single answer right. He's like, really? I've never actually got 100 on anything like that. I'm like, I said, well, the truth is you kind of cheated because I wrote this test thinking, how would you answer these questions so that I would know that if I had the prince part of the test right. And so then I gave it to Brian Johnson. And he totally flunked the opposite direction. And I'm like, how did you flunk the test? And then I realized that when he did the math, he put the part 1 and part 2, he reversed them. And I'm like, oh, I get it. He writes songs, but he sucks at math. It's so funny. I'm like, he said, it was negative something. I'm like, I've known him since he was a little boy. It's impossible. My test has failed me. So I said, let me see that test. I'm like, dude, you put the wrong number in the wrong side. Oh, good, I feel better. Number 12, I overwork and feel really low when I'm not accomplishing something. What do I have? Performance-based, come on, you guys, performance-based identity. I have a performance-based identity. I only feel good about myself when I'm performing. When I stop performing, I have low self-esteem. You're like, that's not okay? No, it's not okay. Because I'm supposed to be a human being before I'm a human doing. So when I have to perform to feel good about myself, guess what? There's something wrong in my self-identity, in my relationship with the Father. Good point. Number 13, I'm on several committees and volunteer for anything that gives me a sense of validation without respect to my own gifts. I bet you that we've all met Mr. or Mrs. Volunteer. I'm on the volunteer fire department, I'm on the volunteer cleaning up, I'm the volunteer, and I'm on the committee that volunteers for the committee that chooses the people who volunteer. And it's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with volunteering, but guess what? Sometimes I just need to feel important. So I'm just like, the more things I do, the better I feel about myself. So, when I was in Weirville, I knew people that were on 5 and 6 and 7 committees. There was like every night, they were like, well, I have to leave the fire department so I can get to and it's like, at some point you're like, hey, are you actually good at all these things? Are you actually passionate about all these things? Or do you need these things to make you feel important? Well, I'm the fire chief, and I'm also the city, and I'm also in charge of the garbage pickup. I'm in charge of the garbage pickup people. Therefore, I are important. And you talk back to me, your garbage won't get picked up, and you'll see how powerful I am. Number 14, I'm compelled to be friends with the most important person in any organization that I'm a part of. Now, again, this is all written with this same attitude in mind. It's like, I need to feel like the most important person in the room is my friend so that I can suck off of their identity because I don't have one of my own. So it's like, yes, I know Bill Johnson, and yes, I know, it's like, yes, I have to be friends with the most important person in the room. It's like, I need Bill Johnson to be my father. Would you be my father? It's like, he has thousands of children. Why do you want to be an orphaned child? I'm teasing, of course, but the point is that, it's like when you need famous people to be your best friend, your father, your mother, or whatever, it's like, okay, double check your motive. Make sure that you're not that you're not feeling really low and you need to befriend somebody to make you feel important. I think you get it right. Number 15, I don't like to set goals because when I don't reach them, it makes me feel like failed. This is huge for many people. It's like, I don't set, like, what's your goal in life? Well, I don't have any goals. Well, that's good, because if you don't have goals, then you can't fail. But actually the truth is, if you don't set goals, you've already failed. So, goals are what give you, goals are the thing that creates urgency in your life, so that you have some idea if you're making ground, if you're growing, if you're doing things God's called you to. And so when you're afraid to set goals because you're like, well, if I set a goal and then I don't reach the goal, then I'm a failure. No, your identity is not related to your performance. Are you getting this? Like, if I set a goal and I don't reach the goal, who set the goal? I did. I'm a powerful person. I can change the goal. This is so deep, this university level stuff you're getting right here. Number 16, I repeat myself, dramatize, overemphasize, exaggerate, and or lie in conversations to make my point. Why do I talk like this? Yeah, I grew up in a home where, you heard about my home. Basically my stepfather says, you're the trash that came with the treasure. You're to be seen and not heard. So, anytime I did have to talk to my stepfathers, I always talked really fast because I feel like they didn't want to spend much time with me. So I'm talking really fast, and if I had to make a point, it's like I have to dramatize a point because I actually don't feel heard. So I'll have to say it like 4 different ways. And I don't know if you're really getting this. Did I tell you that you said this 3 times? Why are you repeating yourself? I'm repeating myself because I don't feel powerful. I feel powerless. I don't feel like you're listening. Why do I dramatize it? Why do I make it bigger than it is? Why do I take a problem this big that really does need to get solved and make it this big? Because I feel like if I make it the size it really is, you aren't going to listen to me. So I have to exaggerate. I have to even lie. I have to do whatever I can to get your attention because I don't feel like I'm important enough for you to actually listen to. Number 17, I become overly attached in an unhealthy way to anyone who gives me attention or takes an interest in me. Proverbs says that the world cannot hold up under an unloved woman, and it could be a man too, an unloved person, an unloved woman when she marries, or an unloved man when he marries. Why? Because when you, listen, if I'm a person that is unloved, I never get attention, and all of a sudden you give me attention, it's like you're my life, like you're the funnel in which God flows all grace and love and attention and affection through you. And guess what? You don't want to have only one person in your life that, here's a great way to ruin a marriage. A great way to ruin a marriage is to feel like, for your wife to say, you make me happy, or you don't make me happy. It's not my responsibility to make Kathy happy. I don't have control of her inside world. It's my responsibility to build a culture around her in which she can be happy, but I'm not responsible for her happiness any more than she's responsible for mine. I can't make a human responsible for my inner world. Well, I'm just not happy with this person anymore. Well, it wasn't their job to make you happy. It was their job to treat you honorably. It was their job to love you, but they can't make you happy. Only God can make you happy. Joy of the Lord is your strength, not the joy of your marriage. I'll tell you, a great way to kill a marriage is just to make a god out of your partner. Hey, these are all my needs in life, and I married you to get them met. I'm like, wow, that's a bummer. That's called an idol, actually. So, what happens how do I become overly attached in an unhealthy way to people? I try to get all my needs met through a person or through people. Should I tell you this story? I guess I'll tell you this story. I had a person that worked for me many years ago. Did I tell you this story? Did I? It's in a book. I think it's in a book. Read the book. Okay. I had this person who worked for me in one of my auto parts stores, and I've known her for a long, long time, for her family, everything for a long time. And did I say something wrong? You didn't know what? Oh, so this is a different story probably. So anyway, when we opened the Reading store from Weaverville, we were driving back and forth to the store. I would come down 3 days a week, and I would ride with this particular driver, which you wouldn't know who that is because I've had 100 drivers that work for me. And so this particular gal, we're driving back and forth every day, and she was going to Reading every day. So instead of taking 2 cars, I would just go down with her, and then when she would take parts back up, I would just ride back with her because we had a delivery back and forth from Weaverville to Reading between our stores. Anyway, so we'd be in the truck, and like I said, I've known her for a long, long time. Her husband worked for me. I know her kids. Kids were in my youth group. And so we'd be going back and forth, and I'd be singing. I'm always singing. One day, this went on for like 9 months, and one day, she calls my house, and I answer the phone. I'll just call her Jane. Her name's not Jane. I answer the phone. Hi, Jane, what's going on? And she's crying. I'm like, what's going on? She says, I know that you love me, and you want me, and you've been singing love songs to me for 9 months, and I just can't take it anymore. And I know you want to leave your wife, and you want to be with me. I go, hold on 1 minute. Kathy, Jane wants to talk to you. Jane, tell Kathy what you just said to me. So she's on the phone with her for like 2 hours, and Jane's telling her, if he doesn't leave you and marry me, I'm going to kill myself. And I think Kathy's like, that would solve it. I'm sorry, that was my idea. That wasn't her. So that started this journey, right? Because she works for me. So I'm like, okay, first thing is we're not going to ride in the truck back and forth. That's pretty simple. But she's also on my prophetic teams that we have in Weaverville. So I'm like, and she goes to our church, and I know all of her kids and her husband, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be really stressful. And so we had about 2 or 3 or more of those kind of conversations. And then one day, this is probably all within 6 months. So one day, a couple of probably months after that conversation, I'm doing prophetic training. She's on my team of about 40. And I'm like, and every time she's in the room, there's anxiety, right? Okay, what's she going to do this time, And of course, immediately after that phone call, I picked up the phone. Bill had already left for Bethel, and Danny was our pastor. So I first get Bill on the phone. I go, I just want to be accountable. This just happened to me. If you have anything, if I've done anything to stimulate this or wrong, I don't know that I have, but I want to be accountable. Then I pick up the phone, called Danny. Hey, this is what's happening. This is what I did. This is what she thinks happened. I have no affection for this girl. I wouldn't be singing love songs to her. I have no desire for this woman. I just want you to know. But, just hold me completely accountable. If you see anything in my life I'm doing to stimulate this or make this happen, please feel free to correct me. So anyway, a couple months goes by. We're in a we're doing our prophetic team meeting, which is on Friday nights for a couple hours. And I have my team there, and she's one of the 40. And somebody says, I think we're supposed to put somebody in the room and prophesy over them. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's do that. It was kind of more spontaneous. And somebody goes, let's start with you. And I'm like, okay. Let's put me in the room. So I get in the middle of the room, and everything's going fine until Jane decides that she's going to prophesy over me. And so she goes, as soon as I hear her voice, I go, oh, no, this is not going to be good. And she's like, I see the Lord calling you to leave your wife. Yeah. Serious. And before she can hit the second line, I start yelling, someone go get Danny. Someone go get Danny. Because he was in another part of the church. So I go, somebody go get Danny. Somebody go get Danny. And she just keeps going. And the love of your life is like laying hands on you right now. And I can't even believe this is happening. So Danny comes in and, she's still going. And, people are like freaked out, like, what is happening, So he grabs her by the hand and she's like, oh, I'm not finished prophesying. He's like, you're done. You're done. And, every Sunday was like, oh my goodness, is she going to stand up and go, oh, yeah. The truth is that she had never been loved in her life. I mean, I knew her really well. She had never been loved. Her father left her when she was little, just a bunch of stuff. And just having fatherly affection in her life and no boundaries, like I realized later, looking back, it's easy to 2020, vision. I realized like, I'm singing in the truck and I'm being kind to her and I hired her and I love her as a person, and she's never had that kind of affection before. So from her perspective, she's no boundaries. Like, she doesn't know, okay, well, there's the kind of love you have for your wife, your husband, and there's the kind of love you have for your brother or sister. That's not the same thing. But if you've never been loved before, it all feels like the same thing to you. And so, anyway, it's really important that we watch the way we carry ourselves. Guys and gals, this is like fatal attraction, right? Here's the tension. It's important that we love people who aren't loved, right? We love the unlovely. We love the poor, right? If you love people who only love you, what if you do better than the Gentiles? That Jesus said that, right? Remember Jesus? Just help me. Just say yes. Don't matter what. Okay. So the other side of that is that we have to learn to not just manage our appetite, but at times we're responsible not for the appetite of others, but for the way that we're affecting other people. I'll tell you, I learned so much from that actually lasted about 2 years. We didn't have as much drama after that incident where Danny took her out, but we still had drama. And I'm like, and I could sit her down and look right in her eyes, and of course my wife was there, and I'd have Danny there, and I'd say, listen, look in my eyes. I have no desire for you. Yes, you do. You're not being honest. No, I'm being honest. If I had a desire for you, I wouldn't have brought my wife in and put her on the phone. I wouldn't have brought my pastors in. Well, I know that you're in love with me. No, I love you like a sister. No, more than that. No. So, and we have these conversations, and it's like, I'm telling you, it was like really, really weird. But I realized that it was a hard lesson, but it was a good lesson, because there are so many people in our culture, and I'm not talking about Bethel, I'm talking about in the world, that are fatherless, that are motherless, that have never been loved. And when they experience love for the first time, and you're just being totally healthy, and you're just being totally holy affection, you're just being totally, they just don't know how to deal with it because they've never had it before. And they're like, that feels so good. I need to be around you all the time. And by the way, if you make a friend with someone, if you become friends, if I'm friends with you and you have that going on, if I become friends with anyone else, you're jealous of every friend I have. It's like, I cannot be your source of, I can't be your only source of love. You got to have this going on, right? I can be, if you will, I can be a stream of love in your life, but I can't be a river. If you're trying to get a river from me, you need to go to the river of life. That isn't me. I'm like a little puddle. And I want to be a little puddle. This little puddle of mine, I'm going to make it splat. Whatever, it's like, please. Number 18, I like to give things away, but I'm almost embarrassed to receive gifts from people. I understand it's better to give than receive and all that, but we're talking about in light of your self-esteem, the way you view yourself. When somebody gives you something expensive or nice or anything, actually, you're like, you just can't receive it. Why can't you receive it? Well, especially if it's like, if this is kind of like an epidemic in your life, like I can't receive. Well, that's related to the fact that I don't feel like I'm worth anything. So when you give me more than I feel like I'm worth, I sabotage the gift. Typically, I instantly give it away. I tell you, this is from experience. This isn't necessarily the opinion of our sponsors. But I watch some people that are the best givers over the years coming from low self-esteem. Like, I feel really bad unless I'm giving away everything. And it's like, that's great that you're giving away everything, but is it coming from the fact that you're generous, or is it coming from the fact that you feel so low that the only time you feel good about yourself is when you're giving something away? Like, I want to give because I'm generous, not because I need esteem. That's a good word. Number 19, I spend a lot of time wondering what people think of me. I know there's a good tension here. It's like some people are like, I don't care what people think about me. It's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. No, I don't. No, you're actually wired to care about what people think about you. You're actually wired to need attention. You're actually wired to need significance. But there again, if your whole life is consumed with, I wonder what people think about me, guess what? You're getting your self-esteem from other people externally. This is all about having a relationship like this and like this that's healthy. I need some of this, right? And I need a lot of this. If I don't have any of this, guess where I'm going to get life from? From you. If I only have one of these, I only have one friend, that's going to get really weird. So I can't be an L. I have to be a T. It's a metaphor. You have to be deep to get it. Okay. Number 20, my opinion is easily changed to please others. Again, that's the whole. Verse 21. Verse 21. Someone Facebooked me yesterday, this is a true story, and said, you and Bill have so much revelation, I don't understand why you're not adding to the Bible. Get on my Facebook and check it out. I may not have it word for word, but it's very close. I wrote back, seriously? And then someone commented, it's like, I think that's dealt with in the book of Revelation, like, do not add to this book. I'm like, where do people come from? How did you get on my Facebook? You're not my friend. All my friends are totally together. I have 28,000 of them. They're all perfect. Like the person who owns this Facebook. Just joking. Okay. Number 21. I tend to have the opposite opinion of the leader in most environments. If they say black, I almost feel obligated to argue white. Or big, little. You get the idea. And why do I do that? I do that oftentimes because I feel like, one, I either need attention, or two, I don't trust leaders, and therefore I have to make sure that you know that I don't value your opinion. In other words, I'm saying to you in perfect English, you have no power over me because I don't value your opinion. I'm afraid of leadership because I feel little. In other words, or let me say it differently, you feel really big and scary because I feel like Pee Wee Herman when anyone comes in the room that has a leadership mantle. So I do whatever I can to make sure that you have no power over me. So I don't even have to agree. If you say black, I don't have to actually think it's white, but I'm going to argue white, so I send you a message, you don't have influence over me. I don't agree with you. As a matter of fact, just say something. I can tell you before you say it, I don't agree with you. I don't just disagree, I'm a disagreeable. There's a big difference, right? We want people to have freedom of expression. You don't want to, we don't want this to be the clone zone, right? We want people to be able to think for themselves. But how many of you understand that if every time someone speaks, you're like, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, you're disagreeable. That's different than disagreeing. That's a spirit, isn't it? I'm not talking about necessarily evil spirit. Let me say it differently. That's an attitude. That's a broken person. I can't agree with anything someone powerful says because then it feels like they have power over me. Ooh, feels like a mortuary in here. Okay. Number 22. The friends I feel most comfortable with are almost always broken people. I don't know if I explained that, but I think you get it. Number 23. When I choose a team to work with me, I choose people I deem as weaker than myself. Oh, man, I can tell you, those of you that are going to go to second year and you're learning about leadership, I'll tell you, this is huge. I go to so many churches, and they're like, 50 people. Listen, 50 people's fine. I don't have a problem with the number. I'm using it as an example. If your church is 50 people, you came from a church that's 50 people, it's wonderful. If God only gave you 50 people, love your 50 people like they were 10 million. Got me? Okay, so it's just an example. It's not the number. But sometimes we can't grow because it's like the Russian doll. You know, Russian dolls, they fit inside each other and you open one up. It's like we develop leadership like the Russian doll. It's like if I'm a 4, I can only choose 3s. And guess what? When the 3 chooses people, who do they choose? 2s. I wonder why our culture never gets healthy. Because we have such low self-esteem that we always choose people who are weaker than us. And then the people that we choose, they choose people to work with them that are weaker than us. And pretty soon, our whole culture is weak. And when somebody comes into our culture that's strong, guess what we do to them? That's right. We reduce them, scare them away, or give them a name like Jezebel, Ahab, or whatever it takes to make, because I feel small when they're around, so obviously it must be their problem. Because, when a 10 comes into an environment, this metaphorically speaking, when a 10 comes into a 4's environment, that just feels scary right there. Now, you must want to take over because you're more powerful than me. So let me tell you 15 reasons why you're an idiot. And yes, you're prospering. Yes, you're leading a business. Yes, your ministry looks like it's prospering because of all these bad motives, these things you did wrong. It's like I can't just relate to somebody as somebody who God has favor on. God, you're with me, right? So I have to be careful that my esteem issues don't, well, let me put it this way. I need to deal with my self-esteem issues so that I build powerful people, and that if I'm a 4, I hire 5s. I bring 5s on my team so that they pull me up instead of me pull them down. Okay. What number are we on? 24? I don't like to be around people or tend to reject people who have a different opinion than I do. Yeah, that's like, you know what? When I think that, here's the dynamic. If you don't agree with me, then you don't value me. Now, how does that work? I'm not talking about being disagreeable, but I feel like if you don't agree with me, then you don't value me. What happens when I feel like, when I tie my value to agreement? What happens when I tie my value to agreement? Then I have to make sure that you agree with me, right? Follow me for a second. If I say, listen, if you really valued me, you would agree with me. Therefore, if you don't agree with me, you don't value me. What's the next thing I do? How does that play out? What does it look like in our relationship? It looks like I have to convince you, like it's my job to convince you that I'm right, because my self-esteem is tied to you valuing my opinion. No, to you thinking I'm right. Are you with me? Now, what am I going to do if you don't agree with me? I'm going to use manipulation or whatever I have to do to get you to know I'm right, because me being right is directly related to my self-esteem. Did you get all that? Good. Just say, I got that. Cool. I really care what you think about me right now. Number 25. This is number 25 is actually the same thing. I don't just share my opinion. I feel compelled to argue or manipulate people into agreeing with me for the reasons I just stated. Number 26. When people don't agree with me, I take it personally or tend to think that they have rejected me, which we just explained. See how prophetically we answer these questions? Number 27. I need to be the most important person in the room and or be in control to be happy. Now, this is pretty common to people that are raised in an out-of-control environment. Like I was raised by two fathers who were out of control. So guess what happens when I come into an environment, when I grew up and left my parents' house, in order for me to be safe, I had to be the one in charge. Because I had two fathers who were out of control. When they're in charge, the environment's out of control. So guess what? I don't trust anyone to be in charge of my environment. So when I go into some place, I have to be in charge. I have to be in control. These are all reasons why I don't respect leadership. Like I come into a church or I go to a business and I build a case against the boss, and I try to win favor with the other employees or the other staff or the other team or the other church members or whatever, so that it doesn't matter what he says or what she says. I'm actually the most important person in this room. And the truth is, I'm the most insecure person in this room. I feel really scared that somebody besides me is in charge of my environment, because I grew up in an environment that wasn't safe, because the people who were in charge of that environment, they were tyrants, they were rageaholics, they were unsafe. So I don't trust other people, I only trust me. Got it? Good word, Kris. Thank you for your spontaneous encouragement. People say I'm obsessed with being right. Well, I think that's okay. We need to take that off the test. Why am I obsessed with being right? Because, I don't know what you said, but whatever it was, I'm sure it's right. I'm obsessed with being right because my self-esteem's directly attached to me being right and you knowing I'm right. Number 29, I struggle with fears, especially the fear of rejection and failure. I think that's pretty awesome. Pretty obvious. Listen, if you want to be in the kingdom, you need to struggle with fear and anxiety and torment. Okay? That's the wrong kingdom. Number 30, I worry a lot, especially about my future. Why do I worry about my future? Because I feel powerless to have any control over what happens in my future. So I'm always concerned about my future. But remember Proverbs 31, ladies? Come on, ladies, come on. How many of you ladies have memorized most of Proverbs 31? Raise your hand. Come on. Come on, raise your hand, be bold. Show these men. Proverbs 31, there we go. The Proverbs 31 woman looks to the future and what, ladies? Smiles. Why? Because she's excited about the future, because she feels like she's powerful. But what happens when I don't feel powerful? I'm afraid for the future, right? It's why I don't have children. It's why I don't do lots of things, because I fear the future. And what is that? Pauper thinking. Everybody said? Pauper thinking. Very good. Number 31, I often feel like something's about to go wrong. That's called a what? Foreboding spirit. Everybody say foreboding spirit. A foreboding spirit works like this. If I'm having a good day, I'm thinking something's about to go wrong. Like something's always about to go wrong. The feeling of impending doom. Something's always about to go wrong. Why do I feel like that? I feel like that because I have a pauper mentality. I don't feel like I deserve to be blessed. I don't feel like I deserve good things to happen to me. I don't feel like God's happy with me. Why? Because I'm not happy with me. I don't feel like God likes me because I don't like me. I don't feel like people like me because I don't like me. And therefore, listen, good things don't happen to bad people, and I don't feel like a good person. So I'm always feeling like something bad's about to happen to me. You with me? Okay, don't be. Number 32, I struggle with forgiving people. Oh, this is huge. You know, one of the reasons why I struggle with forgiving people is because I need to have a case against somebody. Listen, this is huge in marriages. It's like, listen, if you do something wrong, I'm going to hold it against you the rest of your life, because I need to find something wrong with you. So forgiveness means I release you from punishment. You have permission to live happily ever after. And if I release you from punishment and I release you from the thing you did wrong, I don't have a case against you anymore. And if I have really low self-esteem and I don't have a case against you, then it feels like you're more powerful than me. But if I can, listen, if you did something wrong, like you said you were going to be home at 6, but you didn't get home till 6:30, and you didn't call. Okay, honey, that was 5 years ago. Yeah, you think that's funny? I've heard things about that silly in counseling sessions with husbands and wives. And the wife is bringing up these things, or the husband's bringing up these things, and it's like, okay, so when did that happen? And it's like, we're talking about small things that happened years ago, and we're still talking about them? What's the real issue? The real issue is, well, I'm not forgiving. Yeah, but the real issue is I can't forgive, because if I do, then I don't have a case against you. And if I don't have a case against you and I feel small, it makes me feel like you're more powerful. So my real problem isn't unforgiveness. My real problem is low self-esteem. Are you following me? Okay. Number 33, same thing. I'm easily offended. Why am I easily offended? Because I need to have a case against you. I need you to be wrong. I need you to say things wrong to me so that I have a reason to not like you, because the truth is, I don't think you like me. So I build a case against you before you can build a case against me. Because I'm afraid you're going to reject me, so I reject you first. These are all tools of rejection. Are you with me? Unforgiveness, it's a tool of rejection. Offense, it's a tool of rejection. I'm offended by you. The truth is, I totally want you to love me. I'm so afraid you're not going to love me that I don't love you first. And I need some reason to not love you, right? I can't just say, well, I don't love you. Why not? Because you're human. Because I only like animals. You're not a cat. I only love cats. I'm a cat lover. Tastes just like chicken. You know, it's like I have to have some reason, right? Do you understand? Logically, I have to have some reason to say, I don't like you. Because the truth is, I am starving for you to love me, but I don't think you're going to, so I have to have some reason to not like you. So offense, unforgiveness, bitterness, building cases against you, these are all internal ways that I protect myself from needing you to like me, because I don't think you will, because I don't like me. Okay? Number 34, most of the bad things that happen in my life and the failures I have experienced are not my fault. Nothing's my fault. Nothing's my fault when I feel powerless. Nothing can be my fault because I don't have the power to fix anything. So I can't take responsibility for anything that goes wrong because I'm so small and puny and powerless that if something is actually my fault, I actually don't have the power to fix it. So nothing's my fault. I never do anything wrong. I can't say, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. Because I'm so small, puny, and little that I can't fix anything. So I can't take responsibility for anything because I actually don't feel like I can do anything about it. But when I feel powerful, I can go, oh, you're right, that was my fault. I'm sorry about that. I'll take care of that. My responsibility. Ooh, my bad. Number 35, we're almost through the painful part. I feel anger or rage right below the surface of my being. Why? Well, probably the worst emotion in my life is fear. But you know when I don't feel afraid? When I'm mad. When I'm mad. So I can stay mad and not feel fear. And if I'm fearful, it's because I feel powerless, and I feel powerless because I don't know who I am. Got this? It goes back to who am I and whose am I. Everything goes back to that. So if I don't know who I am, then the world scares me. If the world scares me, I'm going to deal with fear some way. I'm going to figure out some way to deal with fear. Maybe I'm going to be a porn addict, and I'm going to drown my fears in porn, or I'm going to drown them in alcohol, or I'm going to drown them in drugs, or I'm going to drown them in work. I'm maybe a workaholic, or I'm going to drown them in rage. I'm just going to stay mad all the time. If I stay mad all the time, then I don't feel fear because I'm a rageaholic. Most people who are rageaholics aren't really mad. They're scared. Do you know that? You know that when you try to deal with a rageaholic's rage, and you're trying to deal with the the actual outbursts of rage, 9 times out of 10, you're never going to fix the problem because the person's problem, that's the symptom. The real problem is I feel really powerless. So when I'm mad and I yell and scream, everybody runs from me. I feel powerful and I yell and listen, clean up your bedroom. You hear me? Why are you yelling at me? I'm yelling at you because I feel small and powerless. And when I'm dramatic and yell, you rush to your room to clean it or call the police, one of the two. And when you run around, when I'm angry, it makes me feel powerful. But the real problem is I feel fearful. I grew up with my second father was extreme rageaholic. Yelling, screaming, throwing things, breaking windows, throwing furniture. This was a weekly occasion. Well, that's bad. The good thing is that when people act crazy like that, it doesn't bother me anymore. It's like, I grew up like that. It's like, I got enough of that to be immune from it. So when people would come in, like my parts store, when I owned shops and auto parts stores, customers come in mad and they start yelling and screaming, and they have this idea like the only way they're going to get their car fixed, like you fixed my car and now there's something else wrong with it and it's your fault. The only way they're going to get their car fixed is to scream and yell and holler because their kids run around and their wife runs around doing what they want them to do, what he wants them to do when he yells. So he walks into my shop and he starts yelling at me. I'm like, hey, you know what? Listen, let's get this straight. First of all, if you yell at me, you're not going to get what you want. You know why? Because I don't want to make you think that yelling works in my life. So that's number one. Number two, if we did something wrong, we sold you the wrong part, or we didn't fix your car right, we're going to take care of it. But we're not going to take care of it because you screamed and yelled and acted like an idiot. Number three is you will treat me with respect, and I will treat you with respect, or we won't have a relationship. So do whatever you want. I'll give your money back, and you can leave and go somewhere else, but you will not treat me with disrespect, or my team. So that's where we're starting. So you decide. You want to yell? Oh, I don't care. Here's your money back. Okay? Leave. And by the way, don't come back with your attitude. Leave it at home. This is not like the American Express card. You can leave home without this. So I have to set boundaries with people, and your anger is not going to intimidate me. You're not going to get what you want by being angry in my world, because I am not going to validate that screaming and yelling works. So I might want to give you what you want. Let's say you are absolutely right. Like, I want to give you what you want, but I don't want to give it to you while you're screaming, because then you think you got it because you screamed. And I don't want to perpetuate rage in your life. So talk to me with respect. I'll speak to you with respect, and I'll be glad to give you what you want, but not with that attitude. I'll tell you, parents, your kid's angry, even if they're right about what they're angry about. Bad time to give them what they want. No, if they're angry and they're controlling themselves, it's fine. If they're angry and they're out of control, really bad to validate that. I wouldn't validate that. I wouldn't validate it when they're 1, I wouldn't validate it when they're 3, and I wouldn't validate it when they're 16. I don't want to send them a message, hey, the Father responds to you acting crazy. Because actually, He doesn't. That attitude leads to poverty. It doesn't lead to prosperity. The Father isn't going to put up with your temper tantrums. He's not going to answer your prayer because you're screaming at Him. As a matter of fact, with few exceptions, He's probably not going to answer you when you act like that. He's a good dad. Number 36, I feel like people are rushing me when I'm talking or explaining myself to them. And I think I answered that earlier. That definitely came out of my own life. I don't feel like people value me, so I talk really fast when I say, because I don't want to take up too much of their time, because I got to go to the game. I want to go to the game. I say, I'm sorry. Did I say what time I'm leaving? 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. So I'll be right back. I'll be at 9. Beyond 9, I'll be back. Okay. I know that I'm taking up your valuable time, and I'm not worthy of it, so I talk really fast. Number 37, I felt misunderstood for most of my life. I need some reason why. See, let me back up. I don't think you like me. Okay? Why don't I think you like me? Because I don't like me. I don't know how you can like me when I don't like me. Okay? But I don't want you to not like me for the reasons I don't like me. In other words, I can't take the fact that maybe you like me, and I already have come into this relationship thinking you don't like me, so the reason why you don't like me is because you don't understand me. Because if you understand me, that means that you don't like me for real reasons. Did you get all that, or was that a Jedi mind trick? See, first of all, I start out with, I don't like me. Got that? So it's love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if I don't love me, I definitely don't love you. And if you, I think this is my core Pauper mentality. If you got to know me, you wouldn't like me. So I have to keep you out here. I have to keep you out here because intimacy is into me you see. I don't want you to see into me because I fear what I see in me. With me? Okay. So I'm concerned because I've already discerned that you don't like me. Now, do you understand this is an illusion? You may not like me, you may like me, but the point is that this idea that no one likes me is an illusion. Okay? So, I think, well, you don't like me because, if I think, well, you don't like me because I'm a loudmouth, and I really am a loudmouth, then you have real reasons to not like me, and that increases my case against myself. But if I think you don't like me, see, I don't actually know if you don't like me, but I've just come to this place where I don't like me, so you don't like me, and you don't like me because you don't understand me. I need you to have the wrong idea about who I am, because I've already determined that you don't like me, and I don't need it to be for a fact. I need it to be fiction. Because I already don't like me for all these reasons. So I don't need you to have a real reason why you don't like me. So I'm saying, you don't understand me. I'm misunderstood. No one really understands me. What I'm really saying is, I'm afraid that you don't like me for real reasons instead of made-up reasons. Because I already have this huge case built against me, and if you have another thing against me, that's a fact that I can't hold up under. So I'm always misunderstood. You just don't understand me. I've just been misunderstood all my life. No, the problem is I understand you. I understand that you struggle not liking you, and therefore, when I show affection towards you, you think, you don't really mean that. You look nice today. You don't really mean that. You're really intelligent. Nah, you're just saying that. What's he want? What's he trying to get? There's some other motive besides you really think I'm amazing. We're almost done here. And next session will be awesome. Number 38, disgruntled and dissatisfied people tend to tell me their problems. This is such a painful session. We should have broke this up. How many times have you had someone come to you and they go, I have this problem with you, and so does Johnny and Jerry and Mary and Henry and Jane, and we don't talk bad about people. Listen, I don't ask for people to tell me their problems. They just tell me their problems. And you're the problem. And so, listen, it's not just me that has a problem with you. Listen, what, you want the list? Well, okay, if you want the whole list, I've been keeping track right here of the people who have come to me and told me what I think about you, which is the same thing they think about you, which is that you're Oh, they use the word idiot. I wouldn't use idiot. I would use stupid. But yeah, same thing. How many of you have ever encountered somebody that has a problem with you, and while they're talking to you, they mention 20 other people who have a problem with you, but they don't gossip? You're looking at me like, I don't know what that look means. Maybe you're one of the 20. I don't know what the look means. Disgruntled people don't have to ask other people what they think about you, because disgruntled people draw other disgruntled people to them. Discontent people draw other discontent people to them. It's just the look on your face. And disgruntled people like to hang out with other disgruntled people because, you know why? Because I feel like if I can have 10 people agree that you're an idiot, then you must be an idiot by popular vote. I don't have to be right. And guess what I typically do? I typically gather a bunch of disgruntled people around me who they all don't like themselves, and you're the most powerful person, you're the leader in the environment, so they don't trust you because you look successful, you look like everything is going well for you. So, hey, all these people build a case against somebody who looks prosperous. Listen, I told you, whole countries build cases against political leaders, against business leaders, because they have money. It's not hard to build a delegation against successful people when you feel little and you gather all the little people around you. Well, I'll tell you what, the only reason why they're successful and we're not is because their father raised them with a silver spoon. Their father paid for everything, and you know what? They probably cheated on their grades, and they didn't work for anything. It was all given to them, and da-da-da. And if I had that, I would be there too. Yeah, me too. So let's just all hate him together. When somebody comes to my office and says, I have a struggle with you, and I just want you to know that I'm not the only one. Okay, here we go. I'm like, first of all, do you feel like I'm not listening to you? Do you feel powerless? Because when you have to take a vote on how many people are disgruntled with me, feels like you don't feel like I'm going to listen to you. So you brought all these invisible people in the room with you to all tell me that you have a problem with me. And if those people have a problem with me, they don't need an attorney. They can come talk to me. If someone has a problem with me, they don't need you to be their representative. So usually if somebody tells me, hey, I have a problem with you, and so does these people, I say, okay, what's their name? What's their name? I need their names. Johnny Johnson. Okay. And you write the first one down, it's amazing how they forgot the rest of them. I said, I just want you to know I'm going to call them and see if I've offended them. If I did, I'm going to clean up my mess. So I just want to make sure that you're sure that they share your opinion. Well, they told me in confidence. Oh, they told you in confidence, but you brought it in here. You brought your little army in here to what? What are you doing? So it's like, what I want is a safe place. Like if I've done something wrong, come on in, let's talk about it. Hey, I've made mistakes. I'll be the first to admit I'm not a perfect person. Listen, you're powerful in my office. If I've offended you, if I've done something wrong, I'm just tell me what you think it is. Let's talk through it. Maybe it's perspective. Maybe I had a bad day. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. You don't need your 30 invisible people to come in the office with you. I value you. I love you. I want to have a clean relationship with you. Just tell me what you're really thinking. Please, can we leave everybody else out of it? And by the way, if those 20 people are really upset with me, you tell them to have the courage to come talk to me. That's what they need to do to have a clean relationship with the Lord. Because the Lord said if they go offer their gift and they have a problem with me, then they leave their gift and come and work it out. He didn't say, go tell your friend to work it out. Right? Okay. Am I being too intense? I'm sorry, I'm being intense. Number 39, we're almost done. 40 days in the wilderness. My sex drive or eating habits seem to be out of control. I don't have control of myself. So, you know what? I'm trying to find pleasure because I feel miserable, so I'm trying to find pleasure in other places. And, it comes out in me not managing my sex drive well. I don't manage my appetites. It can be overspending. It can be whatever. It can be my drug of choice. Like, I don't have any money, but I charge up all 6 of my credit cards. Why? I feel powerless, and when I go in with my master charge, and I charge something really expensive, I feel powerful till the bill comes. Then I feel little again, but that isn't going to happen for 30 days. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Number 40, I sleep more than normal and still find myself tired. Been there, done that? Got the video. Why do I do that? Well, you know what? When I'm awake, I feel powerless, but when I'm asleep, I feel powerful. I just stay asleep. You know what? The world is just a big, scary place, and I just stay unconscious as much as possible. And when I am conscious, I'm medicating myself with sex, with food, with money, with pleasure, with something. I'm medicating myself when I'm awake. And so I sleep as much as possible so that I don't have to deal with the scary world.